Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Diana Mayfield, and I'm the head of content here at Design Files. Today, we are going to dive into the Airbnb niche and how to get clients. We are joined by Audra Slinkey. Audra has helped to train and empower over 10,000 design and staging small businesses since 2006 through her accredited and award-winning online courses at Home Staging Resource. Audra is an Airbnb host and designer as well, so she knows this niche in and out. Welcome, Audra.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for being here. We're excited to kind of, learn a bit more about, some ways to get clients and why this is such a great niche. So I am going to let you, take it away, and then we will dive into Q&A at the end. So yeah, feel free to jump into your slides, and then I will hop back when you're done with the slides and dive into any questions that we have.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this works okay.
Got it.
You
Yes.
got it. Okay,
Yes.
great. And everybody, I'm excited to answer any questions that you have. Just save them towards the end or as you go through. And let's get started. We're going to talk about how to land Airbnb projects, what you will learn is kind of understanding first before you kind of understand how to market this or offer this, you kind of need to understand the market a little bit, how adding this service actually benefits your current design or staging business, especially if that's what you do. I'm assuming most of you are. Even if you're just interested in design, you'll see how this is kind of an easy service to offer, how it works perfectly within the design file system. So I'm assuming a lot of you are design files users. Awesome. I'm going to show you how you can work that in your presentations. The ideal kind of Airbnb design process for clients, the kind of client intake and outcome for marketing and sales, because marketing isn't just about how we outreach our clients and get our clients. It's about how we, after the outreach is there, how we bring them into our process and get the right clients and close them. So I'm going to include a lot of that process in there, and also best ways, of course, marketing Airbnb. So we have a lot to go over. Who am I? If you don't know who I am, I'm Audra Slinkey. I'm president of the Home Staging Resource, as Diana said, and I have been training people who absolutely love design to create businesses doing design and staging for almost 20 years. I'm on year 19 as of like next week. So it's been a wild ride. I absolutely love what I do. I won awards. I've shared the stage with a lot of awesome people. If you see these logos, these are kind of my courses. These are my people. If you see it on their websites, I have a staging training, a color training, an e-design. This is where I partner with Design Files training, and a vacation rental design expert training. All of them have won their respective awards. So I also have my own Airbnbs and have designed them, one on a lake, one in the mountains. So I'm no stranger to who are we designing for and how kind of this industry works. But throughout this training, you're going to see pieces of that training that I have kind of as examples of what you can set up for yourself. And I'm going to showcase stories of people, because I've trained hundreds of people in vacation rental design, stories that they share and how they've had success as well. So who is this for? It's for if you're just new in the industry as a stager or designer, absolutely for you. Even those who are kind of thinking about it, if you just love design and you're like, how do I dip my toe in design? Absolutely, this is for you too. I think you're going to like this. My veteran, of course, designers and stagers, design enthusiasts. This is not a workshop on how to host Airbnbs. I always have to say that because I get a lot of super hosts that are like, I was expecting to hear about how to host an Airbnb. Nope, I'm all about the design and the looks and how you make money using your passion for design or your business in design and add this as a service for your business. Basically, if you love to see rooms that go like this to this, you're in the right place. Now, this is unusual because I'm used to, when I do webinars, having a really active chat, so I can't really see it. But if you're in the chat, if that's you, go ahead and put, yeah, me. Okay, because I know later on everybody's going to see this on Facebook, or seeing it now. They can actively chat. So why Airbnb? It is, obviously it's the epitome of this sharing economy that we've been in for 10 plus years. It started in 2008. It's had huge growth, course post-COVID, everybody's traveling. Over 14,000 new hosts are joining the platform every month. And what does that tell us as designers? There's a lot of competition in the Airbnb realm. It's getting more and more competitive because anyone can be a hotel owner, and rentals have grown 1,000%. So quick, why? Here's something as a designer we also need to be aware of is the millennial difference. This generation represents Airbnb more than any other, and they will account for 75% of all consumers and travelers in 2025 and beyond. It's kind of a crazy stat. And the reason is statistically, travel is deeply important to this generation. They've actually prioritized travel even over home buying at times. So they see travel over 80% is not just a place to lay your head, they're seeing it as an experience. And this is what's led to kind of the popularity of Airbnb and also kind of the popularity of designing experiences within Airbnb. So, why that design is so critical, that growth means there's a lot of competition for these hosts to stand out. It's not enough that they can just list the rental and and get occupancy rates. So it needs to speak to the target guest and stand out in a really crowded space, in a space that's getting even more crowded. So for those of you that are stagers, does this sound familiar? This is why it was kind of a natural progression for a lot of my stagers to add this to their services, because similar to staging, you want to kind of stand out. It is about those photos. People are scouring, Airbnb listings, looking at that first photo, looking at the photos behind it, looking at the description to make sure it's a fit. They have choices. So it is about standing out, making it look good. Hosts lose money when the property is not occupied. And I know this seems like common sense, right? But it means that this is an investment. Good design is an investment in them getting better prices and better occupancy rates. They can raise their prices when the rental is dialed in. There's no such thing as, people aren't looking for the lowest priced Airbnb, right? When you travel, you're not looking at, okay, what's the lowest price rental I can get? You're looking for comfort, amenities, reviews, all of those things. So it is simple economics. It's different than my designers. So those of you that are designers, it's a little bit different because this is actually an investment. It is not a luxury for these hosts. It's an investment in their current investment. Why this can benefit you, because you're maybe thinking, okay, Audra, I already do design, I already do staging or whatever it is. Why should I add this service? Or why should I even mention that I specialize? It's easy to add. I mean, you're already doing some form of staging and design. So you're taking kind of that talent and you're focusing on more of a niche. For those of you, on the live, it's business to business, which is a little bit different than what we're used to as designers, where it's kind of we're usually dealing with the homeowner and or the home seller. So it's typically more money. They look at it again as that investment. They're more like hard line. For those of you on the line, how many of you kind of sometimes get tired with dealing with emotional homeowners or sellers? It's less emotional because again, it's business to business. This is just about getting better occupancy rates and better pricing. It's justifiable spending for these people because to get superhost status, they need those good reviews. They need to have those amenities. It needs to be clean looking. And they're typically whole home projects, which mean they're bigger, price tag design because you're typically doing the whole Airbnb. I shared a story of one of my members, Megan. She actually, and I have a post on it on my site if you want to read it, she kind of listed kind of what she's learned along the way. But she literally, within 6 months of taking my staging and design training, was paying herself over six figures, specializing in Airbnb and second vacation homes, very similar. And obviously, you may recognize this. Of course, it's a design files board. And part of her process, which I'm going to walk you through, is she takes that board, she uses her trade product, her trade discounts, showcases it on the board for this living room, and then the install. So the expectation is set. This is why we love design files, right? Because it actually aligns perfectly with the product you're already using. Why is design files kind of essential to this kind of service? Because very often your clients, who many times are real estate investors or they're homeowners or superhosts, they're remote. I don't my Airbnbs, I don't live there, so it's remote. It works really well with design files because then you can do the planning, you can do the presenting, you're setting that expectation of what it looks like, you're working through that budget, and you're building trust in that design plan so that you guys are both on the same page. Um, so including kind of that design files presentation plan allows you to kind of clearly brand that expectation. It works easily within the design file system for communication and budget planning. So it's just like this perfect marriage, this service and design files. And I love this story. This is one of my members, Leah Dragers. She was originally an Airbnb superhost. Since then, now she travels across the country and does Airbnbs all over the place. So it's just blown up. This is her specialty. She's gone to Vegas, Tennessee, New York. She does everything from just e-designs, and then they can shop themselves and do the install themselves if they like, or she does e-designs and then she travels there and does the full install and reveal. Obviously, you can see she absolutely loves it. She's landed contracts with short-term rental management companies, a wonderful target market. Now we're talking marketing, that she works with across the country. There are short-term rental management companies across the country looking for designers who will do this for them, and builders. And you can see she creates, again, the design board, and then this is the before photo. So you can see this was what was on Airbnb. This host was like, why am I not getting rentals? Why is no one using my place? And this is what she did. So a lot of fun, Instagrammable spaces. You can see this kind of speaks to people. She has her, obviously, her own style. But I love that she's worked with clients. Half the time she's worked with clients she's never actually even met. It's all remote using the Design Files product, which also, by the way, lets you control the conversation. So how many of you hate the idea of always getting the late night texts or emails from your clients or phone calls? This is the nice thing about this platform. In conjunction with this service, everything can be done at a professional level within the platform. Most of your clients are going to be, again, it's business to business if you're working with short-term rental property managers, if you're working with real estate investors and builders. Here's another reason why you guys can rock this. Very few designers and stagers are actually tackling this growing market. There is, when I built my training over a year ago, I scoured the internet looking for designers. This is what they did, or they actually had a page on their site that was search engine optimized for this particular service in their area. There was very few. So it's kind of this interesting niche that you can do in your area, have a page on your website, search engine optimized for the terms Airbnb design, short-term rental design, and dedicate it to it. And then even consider running a Google pay-per-click for those people that are looking for Airbnb designers. Even rarer were the stagers and designers that were actively marketing. So while I saw some that actually, they mentioned that they would do that kind of service in a service list. They didn't have their own page on their site. They weren't actively marketing to those partners for this service. And these partners, frankly, I think are easy to find. They're looking for specialists who make them look good. So ultimately, they need you. It is that win-win for everyone. And the nice thing about these target markets for this type of service, this is kind of business 101, different than an interior designer. Interior designer, who's your target market? Anyone who owns a home. So it's really, really hard to narrow down who to market to. Whereas this, your target market are those property managers that manage this, the real estate investors who are looking to buy properties and turn into Airbnbs, and builders. Unsurprisingly, Trisha, one of my members who took my training, she actually works with a mortgage group. Now, I wouldn't have even thought that. But frankly, that's another target market. This is a mortgage group in Orlando, Florida. No surprise, Florida. If you're in Florida, super hot for Airbnbs. And they wanted to find a designer that they could refer out that would handle all of their Airbnb designs. And I love it. She went from a stay-at-home mom to now this is what she's doing. So again, expanding your services, why not? If you're feeling slow, especially if you're a stager where you've got, I think this kind of design really hedges your business well, because in staging, you have these high moments and you also have slower moments where this kind of can hedge that service. And again, it's that repeat business. So different than if you're an interior designer, once you do a person's home, you're kind of in, you're out, and you don't get a lot of repeat business from them. Whereas superhosts usually host more than one Airbnb. Most people who are in this field, they have several Airbnbs. So you kind of become a partner to their business, similar to stagers when they work with realtors and they become kind of partners. No surprise, Superhosts, Airbnb property managers, like I said, title, mortgage company. I've even had a lot of my members say that they even get a lot of referrals from Airbnb rental cleaning companies. So there are this niche of kind of community that is easy to kind of reach out and market to. Now, those of you who are a stager, and if you are, I'd be curious to see in the comments how many of you, me, you can put in there, are stagers. The reason why this also works really well, particularly for you, is a lot of you already have the warehouse space if you do any sort of vacant staging. So you have kind of the logistics to receive trade product. This is always a little bit of a challenge. In my training, I have like a list of receivers. If people don't have a warehouse, if you're a designer and you don't, you just have it come to the receiver. It can be done. It's just an extra cost, right? So stagers have that warehouse. They have the logistics. They already have the trade connections. If you're a designer or a stager, obviously you should have that. And it's just that easy add-on to what you're already offering. But stagers actually have the ability, because they already have inventory, to fill in gaps. Because a lot of times we'll work with a client, that host is ready to do a launch May 1st. They've got guests coming, and that coffee table didn't come in time, right? So the stager can always fill that in because they have the materials and also turn over inventory. Here's another marketing tip. I love this tip that Brian Thomas showed me. If you are a stager in an area that is high probability of Airbnbs, obviously like Trisha, Orlando, Florida, there's areas like that all across the country. If he goes into a home and he stages a home and he thinks it's probably an ideal home that investor is going to probably purchase to turn into an Airbnb, he includes this flyer in the home. It's a great idea. So if you need a screenshot, go ahead. I just love this idea. You become a specialist. So a lot of people don't realize when you say this is what you're doing, you're becoming kind of a specialist in it. It's not that I can just design for everyone. So you can typically charge a bit more. People understand that you kind of understand the nature of this industry. It is its own beast. It's less about budget. It's more about investment for your clients in increased occupancy. Like I said, that nightly rates, that guest experience. So educating clients on quality furnishings that really saves people in the long run. So it's a little different than staging in that regard, because the host, especially a remote host, the last thing they need is that put together, that assembled coffee table they bought on Amazon to break a leg a year later. That's the kind of stuff that leads to a lot of host headaches. So they understand investing in better furnishings, trade furnishings that will last them longer. And the ability to get creative. I mean, you saw Leia's photos. It's kind of fun. You find spaces, you're branding that space to an area. So it's a lot of kind of marketing this space, similar to, I guess, what stagers do, but it's just next level because you're marketing it to travelers. So you can have a little bit more artistic leeway in the design. I love Holly. She's one of my members. She is super busy. She is now fully specializing in Airbnbs. And she gets really creative. You can see this is a custom sign. She's in Branson, Missouri. Again, who would have thought a hot Airbnb area, but it is. There's a lot of them out there. And she does custom signs on Etsy. Here's another custom signs, custom color palettes. You can see this is another cute sign that she made, and really good idea. But this is the kind of stuff, it may seem small, but it's the details that the guest appreciates. It's very memorable. Mitch, he's one of my members that started with me, took his passion for design. He and Luis, I love them. He's actually going to be teaching on Airbnb design at the next RESA convention. So I love that. One of my people. But he partnered with an agent because my stagers already have agent connections. So if you do staging so those agents know, oh, this person specializes in design. She referred him to the investor client. You'll recognize this. Here's the design board. And here is the room. So it's setting the expectation. There's no surprises when you have this sort of presentation. That's why design files part is key. One of the things I absolutely love about design files, because I have been partnering and teaching on design files and on-site door for years, and now they have continued. So how many of you guys use on-site door with your design files account? If you don't, it's within your design files account. And what I love about on-site door, it's allowing you to create, here's your design files, let's say mood board for an Airbnb. And I don't know if this will work. Hopefully it does. I'm going to play this video, but then connect it to your on-site door trade account where the client can shop direct. So I told you Leia does a board and then the client can actually shop direct. So they get better product, they get more long-lasting furnishings, and they can shop direct for that install. You can tell them what you recommend to go in. I always recommend when you're building out your on-site door board that you give them options, recognize that piece of art in Mitch's presentation, and then you're making money on the product that they are buying. So no, you're not doing the install. That's okay. This is a separate service where you can actually give them the presentation. You're making money. You can even give them a coupon code. That's what I love about On-Site Door, so that they're actually saving if they were to buy retail, which is everybody else available. So they get to save and you're making money. It is such a win-win. So really quickly, oh, I should mention, Mitch made over 20,000 in profit on that one Airbnb project. So it's kind of an in, out, quick, and so there's money to be made. Align this new service. So you may be saying, okay, Audra, how do I do this? Well, you're already in staging and design. Align the new service similar to your other design services, but really understand that in this market, speed and efficiency is paramount. It's about return on investment. So it's not about the cheapest furnishings. Remember, it's about quality furnishings that's not going to give them a headache a year or two later. Part of your marketing process should be having that onboarding process that breeds professionalism. Remember, you are dealing with a lot of times businesses, investors, property managers is different than the average consumer. So, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in the last kind of year and a half, everybody's had to up their game as designers and stagers. So, being kind of that professional onboarding, expertise, and credibility. So it'll help you kind of market your business better and close the sale. Closing the sale comes easy when they believe that you will handle that job better. So I don't know if you do this, but I recommend in all of my trainings, I have one for all my trainings for my members, that you actually have kind of what is the success process for that service, right? So when it comes to Airbnb design, it may start with somebody finding your website, filling out the questionnaire, contact form to get their investment guide. They want to find out what the pricing is. That investment guide shows them what it takes, sells them on a discovery call where you can have a conversation with them, then a consultation, then a design plan. That's your design files, order, install, and then what's the outcome? And this is what the clients need to see. We go through this process because the outcome is better occupancy rates, higher prices, repeat rave guests. This is how you get it. So quickly, this process, I don't know if you guys use Honeybook, Dubsado, 17 Hats. It's really easy to put this kind of contact form on your website. And I always recommend you say, hey, get a quote. People want to see kind of that pricing. Get their email for that, because then you can have an email process that if they don't schedule that consultation, that discovery call, maybe they're not your perfect fit. You still get to email them over the next few weeks to continue giving them things of value, sell them on your credibility and service, showcase your work. So I recommend, having that option. There's your service, giving them your investment guide. Those of you, I know you're familiar with this, but it's basically the typical layout for an investment guide that kind of breeds professionalism and helps to really market your business, is introducing them first on the benefits of this service to them. Why does this benefit them? And why should they use you? Kind of a little bit about you, obviously, and your team, your portfolio, that should speak for itself. But then I also go straight into, how are you different? How are you more unique? I mean, you specialize, you package, you understand the market, you're designed for cost efficiency. So gives you an opportunity to talk to their objections, their concerns. No hidden pricing, saving them tons of time, minimizing sourcing overwhelm, doing the work, access to hundreds of trade vendors that they wouldn't otherwise have access to. These are all the things that we assume they know, but they don't. So it should be in your investment guide. And then even statistics, because there are lots of statistics that back up the money the investors make with good Airbnb design. And then inside that investment guide, I always have calls to action, as you should. Book your free discovery call. This guide is in my training in a Canva template that my members just jump in and they customize, but it's kind of all right there. So it's speaking to the different kind of clients they would have: the super host that just needs a refresh, or the investor who needs renovation first, or the investor who needs a complete redo. And then, of course, your FAQs. So this is typically what that looks like. And the reason why I mention this in a marketing training is because Do you think that when they see that and they see my pricing, do you think that by the time I'm on the phone with them for that discovery call, I need to sell myself with this kind of pre-qualifying? And this is where I see a lot of gaps in designers and stagers kind of processes. They don't pre-qualify. They're not weeding out the red flag. We're too afraid to do that. But it's a good thing to do that because we need to find the right fit. And if we can do that and then just be filling that pipeline, there are 5 other clients behind that person that will be a better fit to you. And you're then not selling yourself. That conversation, that first discovery call is so different because you've already pre-sold. And that kind of gets me to a little bit of where sometimes we go wrong as designers and stagers. We're not packaging and speaking to their unique struggles. That's what your investment guide should do. It should tackle those objections. It should speak to the struggle. Reacting sometimes to the wrong client, I mentioned that, and or not treating it as a specialty service. This is not a design service. This is not a staging service, you guys. This is an Airbnb design. It is a unique kind of niche, and specializing it means you understand that. And not actively marketing to your ideal clients who are more than willing to pay. So, hot tips on marketing, some easy ways to market this business is obviously targeting those repeat business. Who are they? I mentioned real estate investors, Airbnb property managers are your best kind of repeat market. So, be thinking, okay, how do I target those 2 types of markets? And I recommend creating kind of a systemized approach that gives them something of value, build your credibility, like a budget guide or host list. Because I like, if I can get someone's email, give them something of value, get their email, then I can stay in touch and I can give them more value and sell them more on my services. But I already know they're on the edge because people don't buy necessarily day one. We know this. The trick to marketing is kind of that 7-touch rule. So a couple ideas for you. These are things that I have in my training. Is I have a vacation rental critical inventory checklist. And this really appeals to hosts who, especially new hosts, who are like, oh, I want this checklist because I don't want to miss anything when I'm, buying things from my Airbnb. So you have this checklist. Another thing we have in the training, because this is a huge thing that for all of us, we want to educate people on, is kind of a good, better, best furniture budget guide. We don't want to just buy Amazon, IKEA, Wayfair. That stuff will break, and it's educating them on what things cost, next level trade, and then next level of quality and guest experience. The guest that's paying $1,000 plus a night has an expectation. They don't expect to go in and see, IKEA furnishings. It's just the truth of it. So it's just another thing. It helps them. And then of course you've seen the investment guide. So use something to get their email. And then I recommend, because it's just kind of the easiest way to kind of launch, obviously a Google pay-per-click for anyone searching, but a lot of people aren't actively searching. They don't even know there could be an Airbnb designer in their area. I recommend doing a Facebook ad. This is what my Facebook ad looks like. So it's obviously different than what yours as a designer would, but it's not actually that bad. It's pretty good. I get a lot of traffic from this. This is what I do to get people into my training, but you could easily do the same thing. Location target, people in your area. Who is going to want this? Hosts, right? Hosts, investors, property managers. So it's kind of a funnel. Then you're going to get their email. You have a copy and paste. I have a copy and paste email sequence in my training, but you can create Chat GPT if you need an email sequence to further sell them on getting that discovery call, seeing if we're a fit, seeing if you can work with them. The beauty of Facebook and Instagram, this is Instagram and Facebook, they're the same. When I have to say both, is that once they hit your website, then you can do other different kinds of ads and retarget them. So then you're getting to that 7 touches like that. So when somebody goes to my website at Homestaging Resource, they're going to see me in their Instagram feed. They're going to get all my goodies. And it's not just one ad, it's going to be several. And the nice thing is you can do the same thing to those people. And before you know it, you're filling that pipeline of discovery calls. And you can measure the return on, they're called ROAs with Facebook. It'll tell you, okay, you spent $100 on ads and you got, you know, 100 leads or whatever it is. So what is it worth it to you? We all know, we all do marketing for our business, and we know that's just a cost to doing business. There's also Airbnb websites and associations that actually have your ideal target markets and their information listed. And like I said, this is the kind of thing, it's like staging. Once you get over the hump, and you get that target market, that investor who invests in Airbnbs. And these are investor associations that you can take part in, be part of, join. You're going to have local Facebook groups too that will have them. But here's just a few that you can connect with, and they're just real estate investors. A lot of investors are buying properties for that purpose. And here's one that's filled with vacation rental managers. So the vrma.org, you can join as a guest, not pay anything when you go to that website, and easily search their directory. So if you want to find, I mean, you could also Yelp and Google Airbnb vacation rental managers near me. And you'll find all of them. And what you need to do is speak to what their struggle is. You know, their struggle is different than what a real estate investor's struggle is, than what a superhost's struggle is. Their struggle is they're managing Airbnbs that's occupancy rates are going down because of the competition that I mentioned earlier. So how do we speak to that and create things that kind of match that? Here's some examples of Facebook groups. These are kind of nationwide, but you can just search your local one and join. And I recommend when you're doing anything with Facebook groups or any sort of groups, you're just in the listening mode. This is for you to kind of understand the market, listen, see their struggles, be helpful. You can give them design tips. You can give them your checklist guide. You're going to do that. You're going to have their contact, and then you can stay in touch. So it's just part of connecting into the industry. So choose that ideal target market, whatever that may be. I always say, I know it can be overwhelming in our business. You know, who do I market to? And then I just market to nobody. No, if you're going to do this, you know, do it right, specialize, speak to their struggle, like I talked about, and create marketing solutions for those target markets to kind of use and share. So I use the example of an Airbnb property manager. Their struggle is that they have these hosts that are frustrated with them because they're not getting occupancy, and they're wondering if the property manager is just blowing it. Well, an option that the property manager can give, and I have this in my training, and you can create this on Canva. I love Canva. Is the property manager can give them is, hey, I have an Airbnb designer. She can go in and she can help you do a rental refresh. Let's do a rental refresh, get some new photos, you know, refresh the listing. And that may be just the trick. A lot of times that is to get people's interests. And so we kind of have this flyer just for property managers. All right. Okay, I kept it to 30 minutes. I can't believe it. So for those of you who are interested in adding this service, I do have this training. It is filled with some of those things that you saw, all of the things that you saw in this quick 30 minutes, and then some, walks you through how to offer it. And I'm actually doing a special for Design Files. So it's package pricing. I give you the automated marketing system. My whole philosophy is, you know, why reinvent? You know, why reinvent if you don't have to? So in 3 days, it's a 3-day online course. In 3 days, you can have this added to your business. And I shouldn't have put, it's not a 48-hour special. It's going to be to the end of this month. Using the coupon code DesignFiles, you save $50 on this training. And that's the logo. The training is, like I said, it's 3 days, it's 9 modules. It walks you through, even if you're brand new to design, it really walks you through all the trade shopping and marketing. It gives you all that stuff. And then I'm also doing a $50 coupon on my e-design training, which basically, if you have a Design Files account, you get all of my boards. So, you know, in Design Files, you can have templates. Well, I have over 100 plus templates. Some are on-site door. They're trade, most are all retail, of different styles, different rooms, so that you're never looking at a blank project, and you can use them actually to guide clients in their style. So you're not reinventing that. So in that training, you get 100 of those boards using that coupon code. Any
Awesome.
questions?
Awesome. Thank you
I know
so
I
much.
speak fast.
You do. I am impressed. I
I
tell
wanted
you,
to get it all in 30 minutes. I'm like, ah.
how do you do that? Okay, cool. So we do have some questions. I just wanted to dive into the, like, what are you talking about finding, finding the Airbnb vacation rental managers and kind of the investor associations. Do you do like cold emailing and cold calling, or do you teach people how to do that?
I am not a cold caller, and I don't I imagine if you're building a pipeline, my whole goal is that you're automating that pipeline. So you're using a form of advertising at some point that actually makes sense for your business. I think it pays to play, especially for, I mean, cold calling is kind of the last resort. But of course,
Mhm.
if you're in those Facebook groups and somebody says, does anyone know a good designer? Or does anyone have design tips for this and that? That is a perfect opportunity for you to step in and say, I would love to help. Here are my tips. Give them something for free. It's about serving the industry and then watch your business grow. Now, even when it comes to real estate investors, I've had a lot of my members, the go to investor groups, they show them the kind of presentation, the kind of expectation they could expect when they work with them. So I put that all like package pricing, I believe in. It's very clarity of transparency in pricing and walking them through budgets and then also showing them the presentation. It stands out. When you're using a
Mhm.
design files presentation, you're doing the board, you're setting the expectation, that's just the easiest way to market yourself.
Yeah. And if somebody hasn't done an Airbnb project before, so they don't have, that kind of those design boards, would you recommend that they show like whatever like the project is like most similar to like the transformation? How do you
Yeah,
go?
it's funny because we do have Airbnb design boards in my e-design training, the templates that come, and
Mhm.
so they can just use one of those. But I actually recommend this is okay if you've never done one. How about you practice? Go onto the Airbnb platform, pick an Airbnb that could really benefit from your design, and this is just part of us honing our skill. Create a board because regardless of whether this is where we need to get good at what we do. And everybody says, what if I don't have a portfolio? This is what people are paying for. So time for you to showcase what you would do. And the beauty of design files is it lets you do that and build that
Mhm.
trust, even if you don't have the job or the after photo.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Can you remind us what was the link for purchasing your training?
Yeah, homestagingresource.com.
Mhm.
And under that training, under courses, you'll see the Airbnb design and the e-design trainings. And just use when you click, all the information on my training, everything you get. I show you everything. There's no surprises. I've never not had anyone not love the training. I have a 72-hour refund policy, which means if they get in the training and they go, this isn't a fit, no questions asked. They just email me and we refund. That's how confident we are in it.
Mhm.
And make sure you use the coupon code Design Files to save, so they get to save on both.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Um, can you speak on how much income you're making by using side door? Maybe like like what's the percentage, or how much are you kind of earning from having the designer or the client shop the look through side
So
door?
one of the pretty hefty sections in my training is on trade sourcing. Why would you use on-site door? Okay, on-site door allows you to do a project and have the client shop direct. Because when you have these trade accounts, your various trade accounts with forehands or whatever vendor you love as a designer, you've gone to the Vegas market, the High Point market, you've opened up these accounts. A lot of them have to have minimums, a lot of them have requirements. That's where you get the deepest trade discount, right? On-site door, you're not getting as deep of a discount, but you're still getting a discount. But the beauty of them is that product can ship to the residence. Your trade accounts, they need to ship usually to a commercial receiver. So
Mhm.
it allows you to offer a half service where you're still giving them all your design know-how, but they're doing the install, return, all of that work if they want to pay less. So I love the idea. I always say good pricing is about stair stepping and allowing a client to value up and value down so that you're
Mhm.
reaching the right client, but more of them. And on-site door is great for that. You're not going to get the deepest discount there. If you are really the designer doing the installs or what have you, your best bet is always to join buyer groups. RISA has a buying group. A lot of associations have buying groups. You're going to get the lowest trade discount, but you have to open up each one of those accounts. You have to have the minimums, and you have to have usually a warehouse or receiver that you can work with, which is an extra cost.
Mhm. Okay, makes sense. Let's see. So, how do you recommend that designers charge for Airbnb?
Yeah, I have a huge section on that too.
Mhm.
I I love the idea of simplicity pricing, package pricing. I think that avoids, I mean, this is the one thing that designers, we and stagers, we are hamster wheel. That's, building our proposals. And I detest when I see people say, well, you have to look at your expenses and you have to look at how much you want to make and how many hours you want to work. Your client doesn't care about any of that stuff. What they want to care about is transparency, and they want to know that this is the cost and this is what they're getting. And they're willing to pay more for that simplicity. So I have in my training, based upon where you are across the country, kind of a square footage pricing for the look of the place. And that completely simplifies. That keeps me to a budget, that keeps my designers to, this is what, and it's based on luxury level. So there's 3 factors involved. It's where you're at across the country. You know, it's different if you're in Newport Beach versus Shreveport, Louisiana. It's based upon luxury level. Does this client want Amazon, or do they want better stuff, which we're selling them better on? Or obviously it'll be a mix of a lot of different things, but are we getting better trade items for them? And then secondarily, that square footage. How big is the place? What are the rooms that we're filling? And that's the way I like to package it, so that there's no surprises, and then the designer knows what budget, and they're not marking up. The client doesn't see their markups. They don't see what they've made on the trade product. They're not looking at all that. So it's just a little bit easier.
Okay. And at what stage do you send the investment guide?
I would recommend it. People always say this. You don't need to put the pricing right on your site. Obviously, if you could, if it's just a consultation and they just want to book your consultation right away, great. But that still might be a waste of time for you if they're not the right person. We all have had clients who want the restoration hardware look, but they have the Walmart budget. So the investment guide is a good way to kind of weed out. So you saw that contact form. I recommend having a contact form like that I showed, using a HoneyBook or a project management kind of tool. Again, this is all automated. This is what I talk about in my trainings. And then when they sign up, you've got their email, they get the investment guide, and they may be like, ooh, this seems really steep. This is more than I expected to pay. Well, now I have their email, and now over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to email them why the things cost the way they do, why I'm going to be saving them money, why they're getting better product at less prices because they don't have access to these trade companies, all those things that I can do for them. And it's all automated. So you can set it up in HoneyBook, that email automation sequence, once they get that investment guide.
Okay.
Or any project manager will do that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what is like the first marketing strategy that you recommend designers and stagers set up? Is it like you go straight into Facebook ads, or do you recommend that they test the waters with something else first?
I recommend, well, so much foundational. I mean, first of all, your website needs to be booming. You have to have all of those things in place, right? Portfolio, website. So that's just foundational marketing, branding. And then I call that credibility. Then the next step is kind of credibility connecting. You want to make sure your business is in all the places that if somebody is searching for you, they're going to find you. Where are those places? A lot of them are free. House, Yelp, Angie's, there's list search directories. I have a list of those directories in my trainings, all of them, because I want to make sure their business is there. And then you do the intentional kind of the credibility intentional, where you can pay to play, and that would be in Google pay-per-click. You can test the waters in different things and in certain ads. But if people don't have money for that and they have nothing but time, which is a lot of times the case, it just depends on the designer. A lot of my designers and stagers, they're busy. When they're busy, they don't have time to market. So setting up these automated marketing systems, that ad system really helps them, because they're filling that pipeline, they're weeding out the wrong client, getting the right clients, and then they can even pause that ads if they're too busy, but it allows them to scale when they set up those automations.
Okay. The question I was going to ask disappeared, and then it just came right back. So you were mentioning like that you have, an like designer that created like an SEO optimized page. Is that like a location based key phrase? Like, is that something like Austin Airbnb designer, that sort of a thing?
Absolutely. Yes. Google prioritizes, hey, the best place to be right away is Google My Business. If you haven't dialed in your Google My Business local business, that is the freest, easiest way to be where people are searching. People are still searching Google. That's a great, place to be. So making sure that you have a page on your site that says that you specialize in this goes a long way. Because if I'm an investor, if I'm a property manager, if I'm someone looking for a designer I want to partner with on my 10 Airbnbs, am I going to look for just a regular stager or designer that don't really mention that much in their site? Or I'm going to look to one who actually has a page on their site that actually speaks to the struggle and gives me a solution and actually addresses my concerns, which are budget, hidden prices, speed of sale, how quickly can they get the product? Can they be my boots on the ground? So those are the things that you want to talk about and address in every one of your service pages, regardless of what you have. But yeah. And I
Yeah.
have that in the training. I actually have website verbiage, everything that speaks to the struggle. So those are the kind of the copy and paste things that people can put and use, because I get it's harder sometimes for us to put ourselves in our prospects' mind, but that's what they're looking for.
Yeah. I love how you mentioned like Google My Business. Because if people aren't aware, like you can show up in those results, right? Because if it's a
Yeah.
local search, Google puts maps at the top, and Google My Business, the results are within the
Yeah.
maps widget. So do you recommend that clients request reviews that designers request reviews from their clients, because that can help boost the maps
Yes,
ranking?
absolutely. Add your photos, so it's funny because as a trainer, I don't get my reviews on Google My Business. So funny because I saw another trainer say they have no reviews. I have oodles of reviews on my website. I get reviews that from people with their photos, but
Yeah.
I don't because we're nationwide. But as a local business, it's really critical. Google My Business for a local business is most important. As a nationwide business, not as much. But if you're local, yeah, you want to be updating that, adding photos, adding your projects, connecting your blog to it. If you blog is all kind of a time waster, but every once in a while, setting a blog, a newsletter, any job that you did and adding that to your Google My Business is easy.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
brings you up in the rankings, and the reviews certainly do.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Somebody was asking if I know you mentioned that you do have like website and landing page verbiage. Do you help them like learn how to set up their automated email sequences for
Yeah.
leads?
Yeah, I actually have a free post on that. We actually do have a website product. I never really mention it, but we do have a website for designers and stagers that is kind of a wholesale price if they've taken any one of my trainings. So it's normally like 1,300, but it's 899 if they have taken any one of my trainings, because I never want a website to hold someone up. And it's a pretty awesome, it has all those pages kind of already on it and some of those sales funnels. But I do walk people through kind of how they would do that. It's just some people use Wix, some people use Weebly. Those are great site things too that can even walk you through. You can take the email program the emails that we suggest and
Mhm.
plug it into, if you want to go really cheap, MailChimp is free for your first, I think, 1,000 people, or ConvertKit, I think, is too. Like these are email systems. So you don't necessarily need to use a project manager. I just like the HoneyBook project manager or any of those because it allows you to use a scheduler for your business so that clients are scheduling time with you, which is so much more professional than, hey, just call me. Just call me. I'm going to be interrupted while I'm working with a client. That call's going to go to voicemail because you can't be everywhere at once, especially
Mm,
as a solopreneur.
yeah, yeah. Somebody's asking how Google My Business comes into play with a nationwide business. So if somebody's like a virtual Airbnb designer and they service clients, across the country or North America, how would Google My Business work for them? Would it not really
No,
much?
not as much. That's why I don't focus on my profile as much, because
Yeah,
I'm not going to really, people aren't going to really find me as a nationwide
right.
company.
Because it's
That's
all
why
about
I
that
was, yeah,
maps,
that's why I was cracking up when my competitor did, because I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of pointless. Local
right?
only, but that's most of us are local. And I always say if you're focusing on Airbnb design, don't go remote first. Yes, you could be like Leia and travel and great, but focus on your local area. Get to be the expert for that area. In my area alone, I'm in San Diego. There's coastals, there's rural, there's horse country, there's wine country, Temecula. I can focus. There's urban, which would be fun, like apartments, high rise. I can have so many different styles to my design just in my local area. So I would say focus on that first. It's easier to narrow down your target markets. That's why I love this service, because you have these narrow target markets versus the designer who's like anybody who lives in a house. Well, that's just so hard to market.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So do Airbnb clients tend to have like a style in mind, or do they tend to let you do their own thing? I think, somebody's wondering like kind of like, yeah, how, what's your approach on kind of like setting the style? I guess it probably fits where you're talking about the area, right? If it's wine country, if it's, you want to boost that experience, right?
And I think that's just where that phone conversation comes in. That's what I said. When you've pre-qualified, that phone conversation becomes fun. You're discussing kind of what they kind of want to do, what's the vibe that they want. And I've seen some really cool creative vibes. I mean, that my like you saw that example with Leia, that's kind of a really, I mean, if they want to be that, boom, our vibe is for bachelorette parties. I was just at an Airbnb on a girls' weekend last weekend, and the house slept 17 people. They were all single beds, like sleepover bedrooms. We had so
Wow.
much fun. It was in wine country. And so that was their vibe. They were speaking to bachelorette parties, girl nights, that sort of thing.
I love that. Um, Wait, it popped out of my head. Okay, there it is. Somebody was asking, do you have like, is it relevant for Canadian designers? Like, is there tips on working with Canadian companies? This question is talking about Canadian companies. I'm not quite sure if that means maybe like furnishings.
Yeah, I mean, so so On-Site Door, as of today, I don't think they serve Canada, and that's
I
always
think so.
a
Yeah.
little bit of a sticking point, but um, that's probably the only one. Most of the trade vendors I like and I list do ship direct. So then it's just a matter of having a receiver, having them ship it all at once, and then doing the install at once, which I walk people through in the training. So definitely it fits for Canada. People vacation in Canada, I mean, especially in some of those big cities. So yeah, they're booming in the Airbnb market there.
Mm-hmm. And then, okay, so what about like local installation? Like, do you have like, if a client wanted the install totally done, like, do you have like a separate package for that? How do you price that in?
Yeah, I price it like I said, all inclusive. If they want a whole concierge,
Mhm.
shopping, buying, receiving, install, it's a square foot pricing. And now there's a little bit of due diligence ahead of time being done. Do you have a warehouse? Can you receive it? If not, I've got my list of receivers, like I said, in the training that they can partner with and ask, what is the pricing? Shipping is usually, as we know, 10 to 20% of the product. And then, tax. Now, one thing I can say is a lot of people like the idea of, okay, Audra, I like the square footage, but I can charge the tax separately. I say, go for it. That's fine. The point to the pricing that I'm really hammering when I have that huge section is keeping it simple for your client, but higher. You can get paid more, because the client's big fear, even for a designer, is those hidden fees, those hidden markups. They don't want to hear that you mark up product 20%. And the sad thing is that's a bad way of saying it. Frankly, we don't really market product necessarily. We're just not giving them our vendor discount, which they don't
Right,
necessarily deserve, right? That's our vendor discount as a designer. Now,
right.
if you want to give them a little bit of a discount on it, you can. And I don't think that's unreasonable depending on how much, how deep your discount is. If you've priced in your service fee high enough, right? This is the way we get paid. So it's that balance and it's positioning it. I like the package pricing. So these guys are more likely to be like, yep, I'll just square footage. Okay, here's the, 50 grand, go for it for my little bungalow. It's
Mhm.
just easier for them to think of versus, the designer who's, slowly priced it all the way through,
Really,
gotten
yeah,
their retainer, da, 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 and they don't even get 50 grand, So it's, yeah. So
yeah.
that's how I kind of price it.
Okay, that makes sense. Our next question is, on a mid-budget 2,000 square foot property, what is a realistic expected profit? Like, what would you expect to gain all said and done on that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's how good of a shopper are you? So one thing I talk about in the training is you're always going to mix in, we're good shoppers, right? I'm always going to mix in some of if it's mid property, because this is again like staging, it's return on investment. It's not like high end design where I'm doing all custom pillows and upholstery. I'm not doing that for an Airbnb. So that's where my designers have to take it back. So yes, I'm going to throw in my home goods stuff. And yes, I'm going to throw in some of my Amazon favorites when it comes to things that you can go low on, pillows, rugs that they probably will replace every year, right? Throw rugs. But I'm going to go higher end on the couches, right? We want really good fabric on that. That's going to last a long time. And the chairs and the dining, the furniture, that's where you can go trade on. So a good profit, like I said, if you become a good shopper, your profit will get higher and higher. I always recommend that the designer's profit on the whole project should be about a third of the cost, at least a third to half is their goal. I mean, they might start off a third and then they're going to eke to the half. And if they can't keep the price of those furnishings down to, less than half of the project price, then they're shopping too high.
Okay. Got it. Let's see. Let me just look at my list here.
And there's a shocking amount of cheap stuff you can get. Like I have my Amazon. I'm an influencer. In the training, I walk people through how they can create their Amazon shop as an influencer. You don't make that much money as an Amazon influencer. You get a little bit of whatever people buy, but like a stocking kitchen, right? Same kitchen items they're buying over and over again, white, and so having all those things listed for a client, you're going to make money on each thing that they buy. So I walk them through kind of how to do that too for refill products. And then there's so much that you can still get. I mean, you could do an entire living room for less than probably $1,800 if you wanted. I mean, if you're going cheap stuff, and it still would look pretty good. I mean, we're all pretty good shoppers.
Makes sense. So I know you're saying like, you don't recommend, necessarily cold calling and cold emailing, like, having your foundation set up, having some kind of like content or value you can get. If somebody was to like just search up, local Airbnb vacation rental managers and want to kind of start a relationship, how would you recommend they go about that? Like, would they like say like, okay, here's this guide that I wrote on increasing, the ROI through design? Like how would somebody like kind of forge a relationship without being like overly salesy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be probably the first target market I would hit. And
Mhm.
I showed you an example of that Canva template we have in the training. I would send an email to say, I know the Airbnb market gets more and more competitive, especially as a property manager, and you're trying to reach those occupancy rates and get those prices for your clients. If perchance you have a client that you're kind of struggling with because maybe the design side is not looking as sharp as it should, I'd love to be your solution. And it's as simple as that. And here is a tool, a flyer that I have that I can bring by your office. I can tell you more about my service that you can give to them if that works. What time works for you? So it's very gentle. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, great. So I know
But
you're
giving
saying
them, so the whole point is that you're kind of giving them something to help them. You're
right.
talking to the struggle. Remember, that's all I did is I
Yeah.
mentioned their struggle and then
Yeah.
I gave them a possible solution, and that's it.
Yes, makes perfect sense. So I know you mentioned like we wouldn't, necessarily want to start off as virtual. So we'd first want to do local and get some project pictures. But we did get a question about how do you get project pictures from virtual clients?
I would, in those cases, first of all, the client's going to do professional photos, right? They're going on Airbnb.
Oh
So
yeah.
I would ask for them. And by the way, in my contract for staging and design, that's just part of the contract. I get the photos, but that I give my members. But yeah, it's they need to have good photos. The sad
Yeah.
thing is you look at Airbnbs and some of their photos are so bad. It's like, oh, come on. But if the rooms don't look good, then so I say if you're thinking, wow, Audra, I'm excited, go to your local area, start looking at Airbnbs and look at the one that's $100 a night versus the one that's, the most expensive, and look at the difference. Look up a 3-bedroom, sleeps 6, and see how they compare. And you'll see that the one that's getting more money is so much more superiorly designed. And you'll find your opportunities by just looking at that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, those pictures, yeah, when they're good, when they have like the style, the experience, the pictures.
Yeah.
Um, so makes
People would buy on emotion.
yeah.
It's their vacation. It really matters to them. They're willing to pay more.
Mm, true, true, true. So it looks like we have covered, I'm just searching through here. It looks like we have covered, all of the questions. So yeah, it looks like we covered it all. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention? Again, that's homestagingresource.com, and the coupon code is DesignFiles if you wanted to save. Yeah, I think we did it. I think we
We
did
did
this.
it. Yeah, the training's short, it's sweet, but it's designed to plug and play into your business. And it answers all your questions about shopping. A lot of people have questions about that, especially if, and I take the approach if you've never done any trade shopping. So don't be afraid if you're just a design enthusiast thinking you want to do this and I don't even know how to begin. I cover that.
Yeah, yeah. And Audra's training does, include templates for design files. So that's
Yeah,
super great. So we're really aligned there.
love
So
that
definitely,
product.
yes, it's
Presentation is everything.
it is the client experience. Gotta have it. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Audra, for joining us today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you guys next month for another live workshop.
Thanks so much.
Bye.